Okay. Yep, we're live. So,
Here we
so I
are.
figured I'd mention, since I think I've failed to do this pretty much every time. Maybe I did, but I'd mention what we were actually talking about. So we finished
Hard to say.
season 1 last time, which is cool. It's
Yes.
cool that we're starting a brand new season. So season 2, we'll talk about the first 3 episodes, and yeah. Do you have any, just to recap season 1? How do you feel overall? Overall, if you were to sum up season 1, what are your thoughts?
As a standalone season,
Yeah.
I think if no Sopranos exist, only season 1,
Mhm.
I would easily say, well, I'd say a few things. Number 1, as far as season 1s go, it's a really damn good one. I mean, think of how many great shows that when you look back, you're like, God,
Yeah,
I'm
season
sorry.
1
I
worst,
love The Office. Season 1 is hard to get through.
yeah.
It's not that it's bad, right? But it's come on.
Yeah.
Season 1 was not. It was
Simpsons,
going to get
take
canceled.
Simpsons season 1. You can
It's
see
god
what
awful.
you can see the greatness that's coming, but it's
Oh,
it's
right.
not a great season.
The,
Minus
the,
a
the
couple
problem
stuff,
with the problem is that season 1 of The Simpsons is hard to watch, except for the fact that it's the only season that things actually happen in that matter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I
There's
loved
the
it at the
whole.
time.
Well, but I
Loved
mean,
it.
if you think back, season 1 is where there's the whole Sideshow Mel thing.
Sideshow.
Sideshow, right? I'm saying with Sideshow Mel coming up with Sideshow Bob, right? That whole
Yeah.
thing. If that's
Yeah.
season 1, if I'm not mistaken.
I
If
think
I'm not,
so. I
I think the
rewatched
whole
some of
Sideshow
that
Bob
recently.
thing, is season 1. If I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken, that's
yeah, it
when
is. It is when
you know.
Homer steps on his foot,
Yep,
and
and then
yeah,
then they get. If I'm not mistaken, that's when they get Santa's or they get the dog, right? They get Santa's little helper.
yep. That's the
Um,
first episode ever. They get Santa's
is that
little
the first one?
helper.
Okay, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right. My
yeah,
point is like
classic.
things actually happen. The rest of the seasons, nothing ever happened, right?
That pilot
Meaning,
is a great pilot. The first
I agree.
episode, fucking awesome.
What I mean by if you watch the rest of the show, nothing ever really happens
Right.
because they don't age. Like nothing,
Yeah.
very little ever happens that ever matters in another episode. You can just kind of
It's
watch
almost
the
like an
episode.
experiment, right? It's like, let's
Yeah,
see what we can do. And let's see how it goes. Let's see how many people are actually going to watch it, because they don't know. It
right.
could be a flop.
And
So I
you're,
feel like season 1 is always experimental with every
of
show, and
course,
it's a
and
trial.
then
It's like a trial run.
If you're a Star Trek fan, season 1s are just garbage pretty much across the board.
That's true. They're
The
kind of
Next
boring.
Generation season 1 is garbage. I really love the pilot.
Yeah.
Encounter at
Pilot's good.
Farpoint, love it.
Yeah.
Season 1 sucks. Um, Deep Space Nine, again, the Emissary is a cool pilot. Season 1 sucks.
Yeah.
Voyager sucks anyway, so season 1
Yeah.
really sucks.
Yeah.
Enterprise season 1 sucks, but it has my favorite pilot. It's called
Yeah.
Broken Bow. It takes place on the bow. It's amazing, but season 1 sucks. But my point is, like, when you look at shows, how many of them season 1 is just bad, and then
Right.
how many of them season 1 is okay, but it gets better.
Yeah.
What I think about The Sopranos is it's kind of that, but it's neither one of those. What I mean is, season 1 doesn't suck. Season 1 is also not kind of good and it gets better. I think
Yeah.
season 1 kicks ass. I
Yeah.
really do. I think season 1 is, if you just watch season 1, and again, we have to remember this is 25 years ago. And the
Yeah.
reason that matters is if you hand Sopranos to someone now
Yeah.
and they've seen Game of Thrones and they've seen, whatever,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, this is I'll tell you I'll give you an example of that one. That would be like handing someone Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera, who or for me, I guess it was more like Far Beyond Driven. It was really the first one I really got into. But
Yeah.
what I mean by that is like when a Pantera came out in the mid '90s, like it was the heaviest thing known to man. By
Yeah.
today's standards, people that are listening to way heavier music aren't going to be. You kind of
Yeah,
have
they're
to
not
put
going to be
yourself in
like,
that time
wow, this
frame.
is brutal,
Right. Or like when I was a kid, it was like when I was a teenager listening to Pantera, the first Black Sabbath record didn't seem that heavy. Okay,
Yeah.
we get the point, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying with this is like I understand that because this show started so many other ones, Breaking Bad and all that stuff, or
Yeah.
because of this show,
Yeah.
I understand that. But that being said, the only thing that I would say about the season is that it would be one of the best seasons of a TV show ever made if it wasn't the least amazing season of the show. Except maybe the last one. But like,
okay.
do you know what I'm saying? Like this
Yeah.
is it is one of the best seasons, and certainly one of the best season ones ever.
I
mean,
really
like
like
really,
it.
like
Yeah,
how many
I
good,
really
how many
like the
shows,
first season.
how many shows are great season one? Like Cheers. Okay, Cheers kicks ass.
Yeah, Arrested Development.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's God, that's a great one. But
Yeah.
again, there's a comedy. It's easier with comedies, right?
That's true.
Not
Yeah,
to say it's
that's
easier
true.
with comedies, but it's easier to make. So I mean, honestly, like, I love that it. God, when think back to season one, right? Like, how many TV shows had a cast that big?
Oh God, I know.
Right,
I know.
with
So
that many.
stacked.
Well, no, I mean,
Almost.
just like,
I was at first. I was intimidated. I was like, "Oh
of course.
no, I'm not gonna. Oh, I'm never gonna figure this out. I'm never gonna remember who's who." But you just do.
Because
You
they're
do.
all named Tony, and they all.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're all Italian guys.
but it's a huge cast. There's a lot going on. The storyline.
That's what I love about it. The more, the
really
better.
It's not complicated, but it's more than TV was used to at that point.
Yeah.
It's not like I read a lot of fantasy, and there's some, there's some that you see this index of, like, if you ever read any of the Malazan books, I've read the first two. I'm about halfway through book 3, but and I'm stopping for a little while. But like you see them, and there's an index of names. They're going, oh my God, this index of names is 15 pages long. Like this is not that way. But
yeah.
So I guess that my brevity is not my strong suit. What I'm getting to is that the only problem with season 1 is that the rest of the show gets better.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mean, I already agree with you. I'm on season 4, but I already agree. Every season so far, every season has been better than the last. But I think I'm always gonna have a soft spot for season 1. There's just certain parts about it I just like. I don't know.
I think at least the first 3 seasons get better.
Yeah.
I think, 3 is better than 2, 2 is better than 1.
Yeah.
After 3, like, I like 4 and I like 5, but I don't like them as much as I like 2 and 3.
Okay.
And when I start thinking about my favorite Sopranos moments, they're seasons 2s and 3s for the most part.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, season 1, man, think of just all the damn ground they broke. I mean, I hate saying that, but just all of what they did. I mean, they jumped to that hurdle of making the main character a bad guy. I mean, God, that's hard to do. It is. They established that they could fill the show with bad language, sex, and violence.
Yeah.
But yet somehow not make it gratuitous, because it's really not. I mean,
it gets way more graphic, I've noticed.
It does.
But it's not about that. It's not a torture porn type thing.
It's not
about that.
And even honestly, even like the nudity in the show is, I mean, actually, there's not that much. There really isn't that much.
It's only it's in certain episodes, and then some there's none at all, and then some there's kind of a lot. But yeah, it's not. It's like
generally speaking. Sometimes Tony's having sex, and you see,
like a head bobbing, or
you might see some boobs.
Yeah.
The rest of it, 99% of the time,
the bada bing. You see a lot of boobs there,
and even still, they're in the background.
Yeah.
They're just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
So I do. I mean, I really do. Like it's always weird. I'm telling you though, the weirdest thing about season 1 is when you finish the show and go back, you forget how skinny Tony was.
Yeah, because when he in his later days, he was really heavy. Obviously, come on, that's why
I get it.
That's why he died.
This shirt fit when I went to Europe over the summer, and it doesn't really fit now. But I mean, and I know you liked it.
Yeah, what I like about it, I think I've told you before, but what I like about it is like season 1 it's got a laid back feel to it. Like none of the characters are super miserable yet. Everyone's they all have their problems, but it's got kind of a I don't know, I don't want to say a chilling vibe, but I don't know, like season 2, almost right away, it's so much more aggressive, and like everyone's pissed off and foaming at the mouth. And season 1 is like everyone's kind of happy, sort of. Their problems haven't escalated so much yet.
Well, you got to figure it out, right? The beginning of season 1, Tony is seeing a therapist because of ducks in his pool.
Yeah.
No point later on would he be that set off by ducks in his pool.
Exactly.
And you realize that that's a piece of a bigger puzzle.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Meadow sneaking out late, but Tony also wasn't boss yet either.
That's true. He was capo still. Yeah.
He was, and even at the beginning,
I forget that sometimes, to be honest.
Because it's because Jackie was boss, just now he got sick. At the beginning of the show, he was sick.
Yeah, so right from the start.
Tony had to start being the underboss, the street boss.
Yeah.
Because Jackie was sick.
Yeah.
Had Jackie not gotten sick, Jackie still would have been boss because Jackie was young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, whatever. He was 30s or 40s probably, but
younger.
He had years. He wasn't junior. He had years to go.
Yeah, decades still. Yeah.
And
wasn't supposed to happen that way.
And Christopher was not well. Christopher wasn't made.
Nope.
He was still
the soldier.
A soldier.
Yeah.
Pussy was not. No one was thinking bad about Pussy at all.
Nope. Yeah. Exactly. Everyone loved Pussy. And I still do. One of my favorite characters. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard not to.
We'll talk about that.
He's a great character.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, season 1 is it's weird. It's weird in hindsight.
Yeah.
And
I really liked Tony's relationship with Melfi. I liked the most in season 1.
Yeah.
I liked it the most in that season. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think last time I equated it to some of this stuff as like when I used to watch Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman, like how much more fun it was when she didn't know he was Superman.
Yeah, similar thing.
that first season when there's that still weird. He had a different relationship with Melfi season 1 than he'll ever have again.
Yeah, they kind of see. I feel like season 3 he kind of circles back a little bit. And I liked that, but yeah, like you said, it can't be the same because of all that happens in between.
Well, I mean, and at the end of the season, he basically says your life's in danger. You got to go into hiding.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
and that's
their relationship will.
And that's one of the very first things you see in season 2 when it starts.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure like their relationship's going to go up and down. It's going to be more functional at times and less functional at times.
Yeah,
but
up and down for sure.
There was definitely it was a honeymoon period between the two of them.
Yeah.
I think is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, and actually it starts out this episode. What's it called? Guy walks into a psychiatrist's office.
Right.
It starts off with that really cool that you mentioned last time. That really cool Sinatra montage. Yeah. Great montage. Great.
I
great
love it, dude.
Yeah.
I agree. It's the
I bet that's a classic moment, I assume, right? At this point.
I think so. I mean, I didn't watch that many episodes, but I had watched that that podcast.
You mean rewatched?
Yeah, but
I see.
I watched that Sopranos podcast where it's the actor who plays
I gotta watch that. Yeah.
We're talking more about our feelings and our reactions.
Yeah, they're talking about technical aspects and
theirs is all like, oh, by the way, this is actually how this worked, and this is who this person is, and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but they talk a lot about music on there and how David Chase was really specific about all the music that he uses. On the show, like really specific about the music he uses, and it's all on purpose. Some of them are really like small, like a local band that he liked.
Wow.
But some of them are he put a lot of thought into. And now, I mean, that one's perfect, right? I mean, it's as well. It's if you're going to do Sinatra, like I mean, in a way, it's cliche.
Sinatra's perfect, but especially that song.
But it's cliched to use Sinatra.
It is. Yeah.
But by starting
Like,
I
we
think
get it. All Italians love Sinatra. You know, we
right.
all know that. Yeah.
But I think doing it season 2, I think that's awesome. You know, I
Yeah.
think
Good point.
just
Had they
it was
done it
just
from the
really,
the start, you'd be like, "Oh God, really?"
you know, I didn't realize this, and this, I mean, clearly this isn't storyline. It's not a
Yeah.
spoiler, but sometime in season 5, and I don't remember what episode. It doesn't matter. During the credits, they play that song. You know, if I was a carpenter and you were a lady, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had never noticed it before because I laughed really hard because of early in the show when Christopher comes up and goes, "If I were a carpenter and you were a douchebag," like he says that. I don't remember if it's season 1 or early season 2, but
I can't remember
he
either.
says that to people at the construction site, and I've always laughed at that line. I thought it was
That's
funny.
shit. I don't remember that either. I remember that part, but I can't remember
But
which season that
I
was.
think it's season 1.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I love that I never even noticed that seasons later they actually use that song in the credit. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
That's awesome.
And of course, you have to remember that he said, "If I was a carpenter and you were a
Yeah.
douchebag."
What do you call that? An Easter egg or
Yeah,
whatever.
it is. It's a total Easter egg.
Yeah.
But my point is they do such a cool job of
Little stuff like that you might not have caught on
what's the
to.
name of the I'm trying to remember the let me think of something. What's the name of the why am I blanking on it? Okay, I'll figure it out. I don't want to
Yeah, it'll come to you.
by the Kinks. What is it?
The Kinks.
Yeah, there's a song.
I don't know much about. I don't know many Kinks songs, but I know a few.
It's I'll figure it out. It doesn't matter. Anyway, like they do a great job of music, you know, across the board is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And love it. Living on a Thin Line. Sorry, that's the name of the song.
Oh, okay. I do know that song.
There's a scene, and I don't remember what season. It might be 1 or 2, but they use "Living on a Thin Line" by the Kinks in the Bada Bing, and like you realize if you never thought of it that way before, you realize like it's the greatest stripper song ever. You know, I have always maintained that the greatest stripper song ever written was The Zoo by the Scorpions. You know, like, dude, if there's a song
hell yeah,
women need to be getting naked to, it's that. And I still say that. But
I agree.
You know, the song Living on a Thin Line, by the Kinks, when you see that, when they see how they use that song in the show, I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, the music in the show, they do a great job of like,
and it's all about the timing, and
even whether it's music,
it's so much more than just inserting music. You know, there's an art to it.
There really is. They spend a lot of, and I to my knowledge, it was David Chase. I'm not
Look at
mistaken.
how many movies you've seen that the choices, not only the choices of music, but where it's placed is just fucking horrible. And you know, they just put it in there because, oh, this song's popular.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
People know this song, you know, but it has no relevance to the scene or whatever.
You know, and then you get a movie like Reservoir Dogs, you know, with the ear cutting scene, and you're like, that's brilliant. Like your head explodes because it's you know, stuck in the middle with you. You know, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe, you know, they sometime, and that's just a great example of where.
Well, Tarantino's another guy that takes that shit very serious.
Yeah. And I'm not by any means a Tarantino fan, though I do love.
I wasn't for the longest time. I am now, though. The older I got, I didn't understand him early on, but
I really like.
I'm definitely a fan
at
this point.
Never really liked any of the other ones, but
it's great. It's great.
Point being, like when I think of a great use of a song, it's just it's you know that one of the great scenes of a movie that is great use of a song because it's not the typical. I mean, it's not the typical choice, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like I get like Top Gun and Danger Zone, like you know,
it totally fits, you know. It totally fits.
Or like your like Karate Kid 2, you know, like a knight in shining armor a long time ago, like, you know, Peter Cetera, whatever. Like sometimes it's just like, okay,
yeah.
But the Sopranos is a cool. I guess what I'm saying is the Sopranos they don't just have like some adventure song when they're in an adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Exactly.
like Kenny Loggins would be out of work if that's how
Yeah, I know.
because he was in every soundtrack, and then
Seriously.
so
Good old Kenny.
yeah, totally, guys. I love the way it starts.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
It's a great
so
start.
other than me looking at Wikipedia, why don't you walk me through some episode
Sure.
1, and
Yeah. So it
I'll
starts
jump
off
in.
right away. And this is even before the montage. The montage was not the very beginning. It would have made sense.
Okay.
No, the very beginning is actually with it shows the classroom with the stockbroker testing. And
you're right.
You hear the guy doing roll call, and he goes, Christopher Montesanto. And then you're like, all right, I guess Chris is taking this test, and it zooms in, and it's like this young Chinese kid.
I totally forgot about that.
So the kid's taking Christopher's test,
Right.
So Chris can, yeah, so Chris can run his scam, his stock market scam.
So cool.
It's cool.
I got to tell you, I love that. I forgot. See, I would have forgotten about that entirely. I love that whole story of the.
It's short lived, but it's awesome.
It's awesome, and it's called Webistics.
Webistics. That's the best name you could come up with. This was 2000 though. That's a very 2000 sounding name.
Oh yeah.
So back then it wouldn't not such a red flag like it'd be now. Like what? No, I'm not giving you my money.
Webistics, yeah.
So yeah, you go from that, and then it bounces to, and then I think right after that, that's like maybe 1 minute, 1 minute and a half. Then it goes to the montage,
right?
Which, like we said, is awesome. Then it goes to, so Junior's still in prison,
right?
And Melfi, and actually, I think these are parts of the montage. Junior in prison, shows Melfi seeing her clients in a hotel room, and she's fucking pissed, obviously. Not only did she lose probably a bunch of clients, but nobody wants their life to be interrupted like that.
Oh yeah, because remember, isn't she like talking to one of them and saying like, well, it's just not good for me right now or something.
Yeah. You could tell like she's not, she's not able to do her job at 100% because she's pissed off. And I'm sure who wants to go meet their psychiatrist at a hotel room anyways.
I'd be very curious. I mean, just weird things you think about. I'd be very curious to see Melfi with any other client.
Yeah, I thought about that too. You do
a little bit.
You do a little bit in season 3, but it's like very brief. You see, I think it's like maybe 30 seconds or something.
I mean, I know there's that one scene where she's doing like a group therapy meeting or something.
I haven't seen that yet.
I mean, there are scenes.
I know what you mean. I thought that too. Yeah, I wonder what she's like with other people.
It's weird. I sometimes question her ability. I mean, I know. I mean, I'm serious.
A lot of people do. Yeah. So does Tony. So does Carmela.
But what I mean though is I sometimes question. I mean, it's hard to say because Tony isn't a typical patient.
No.
But at the end of the day, there really isn't one either.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I guess what I'm saying is if I was referring one of her suicidal patients to somebody, would it be her? And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, so
weird.
I guess you only see her briefly.
She's either like the best at what she does.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Because sometimes I question it, and then sometimes
she does take it super serious. She is very, very by the book, and she means well. She definitely means well.
Sure. Well, that's one thing too. She's weak early on. She gets stronger, especially with Tony.
Yeah.
Because she grows too. I mean, she grows as a person.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it's weird. Like I don't think she's incapable. I think she might even be overqualified for most of it.
Yeah.
Tony might be her only real challenge. I mean, I don't know.
I would imagine. Yeah. And you know what? I'm just remembering this. She does mention to Tony, or I think she mentions it to Tony, or she says it to somebody at some point. She says like, God, a lot of my clients are just so boring, or something like that. She's like, oh yeah, there's some people are just trying to quit smoking or whatever. She's
she does it 1.2 though, and if it's again, if this is not season 1, it might be season 2. But she's talking about getting him to see a behavioral therapist and start doing like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is wonky and weird anyway.
But he doesn't do it, or at least not that I've seen.
Weird. I've read. Well, what's funny about cognitive behavioral therapy is its initials are CBT,
CBT,
and like I've listened to metal long enough, I think of like cock and ball torture, I hate to say that, but I mean, I will never forget like when my this was years ago. My therapist, we were talking about stuff. She's like, "Well, there's CBT," and I looked at her and I laughed. I was like, "Okay, realize I know what you're not. I know what you're recommending and what you're not." But I had to laugh. We both had a little laugh on the coincidental similar abbreviations. Actually, I have no idea what that band sounds like. I just know they're a band.
Yeah, it's like a grindcore band or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly. I mean,
crazy noise type stuff. Yeah,
clearly that sort of thing. But as to what I've never listened to them.
I don't think it'd be your thing.
No. I'm pretty sure it's.
I'd say don't even bother.
Yeah, not. Probably doesn't sound like a Cinderella album. We'll just put it that way.
No.
So yeah, okay. So it's such. There's so many cool. That montage is so cool.
It is cool.
They don't do They don't do them very often. I'm not.
And maybe that's good. It makes it effective,
Yeah, well, it's not
it
like
might
Rocky.
If they did them often, it might be cliche. If like, okay, another montage, we get it. You're good at this,
Even Rocky had a montage, but
that Rocky's montage is great.
Well, but I mean, because every Rocky movie is half montage,
Yeah, that's true.
Like
that's
the Rocky 4 montage,
3 or 4 of them in there too.
Movie, you know? What's great about Rockies is that there's the montage that starts the movie and explains what happened in the last one. And then there's another montage in the middle of when he's working out.
Yeah. Those are the best ones.
Like, you got to have 2. You got to have 2 big ones.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So keep it going. What else?
So then after that, you get to the return of Pussy, who just shows up out of nowhere.
He
shows up to Tony's house, which freaks Tony out. I love the part where Tony's going to get his paper like always, and he sees that car sitting there, and he sees some guy get out real fast, and he turns around, he's about to run, and he sees that it's Pussy.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So Pussy's back. They got to have he has the long talk with Tony, tells him where he's at. Tony kind of halfway believes it, halfway doesn't. So I think he has Paulie look into it, dig into it a little bit. Yeah. So Paulie's like, yeah, it all checks out. Everything he said, he's got alibis and stuff. But so Pussy never really gets back to where he was. Obviously, I mean, he's lucky that he was able to come back at all. But yeah. Well,
and it's
his life remains a challenge.
If I'm not mistaken, Tony even says something to that effect. Like, if you weren't this close to me, you wouldn't have. But you wouldn't have made it back.
Yeah, of course not.
Because they take that shit seriously. I mean, first of all, just
I can't imagine.
Out of paranoia, partly.
Yeah. I'm sure there's that's never a good thing. There's no way that could be a good sign, that somebody leaves like that without telling anybody.
No, because there's the chances of them flipping, not to mention not fucking earning, which is
and I think Pussy wanted to probably be smarter about it, but I think he just didn't know what to do. I don't think he had a better plan.
He didn't. There wasn't a better option.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was no way for him to prep it and like come up with this grand scheme, and I think that he had to do it the way he did.
There are characters on the show who disappear, and I mean there's a few that end up just kind of
you just don't see him again.
They don't get killed, but just like disappear.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That happens in this one.
He's not just one of the guys.
Right.
I mean, they don't.
He's very respected, and
they don't deal well with anybody just leaving,
Right.
but especially someone that high up, which he's high up.
Yeah.
Um,
And he's got a
and
great track record with them, you know, like he's with that guy that's never let anyone down,
yep.
probably never fucked up, you know.
Plus,
Everyone loves him.
He's got the auto body shop, which
Yeah, that's big money.
you know
Big
you got to
money.
figure like people that own legitimate businesses. Well, anybody that owns a legitimate business. I mean, even someone owning. I mean, it's a character we'll talk about later. But like Beansy owns a pizza shop.
Yeah, the pizza
Which you
shops.
might think
Yeah.
like, so what? It's like it's a cash business. It's a
Yep.
cash business that people can do things in and out of. You
Yep.
can I mean, there's so much you can do. You can, at an auto body shop. Well, first of all, just for doing their business with cars.
Yeah, which is a lot of their good chunk of their income, stealing
Yeah.
cars and
I
probably,
mean, not to mention, I mean, every they all have to have tax returns.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's a
know
good point.
Tony
That's the
says
only that's the only way to keep the feds off their back, or as much as they can, or the IRS, I should say.
I mean, Tony is a consultant for Barone Sanitation, but
yep, that's what his tax return says. Yeah.
But
Silvio's got the strip club. Sal's
yep.
got the
yeah. Pussy's got the body shop.
Yep.
Paulie doesn't have anything.
Paulie just doesn't give a shit. He probably doesn't file taxes.
He he went to the. I don't remember the quote, but it's like he's like I was in the army. I did a couple years in the army.
Yep.
Then a couple years in the can, and now I'm half a wise guy.
Yeah, and I'm doing okay.
But it's
that talk
awesome.
he has with Chris. Yeah. So yeah, Return of Pussy's interesting. So you also got Junior and Tony have been pretty much wiping people out that are talking shit about the family. There's like in this episode, I think in the last one, or maybe two in this one, I can't remember, but numerous people are killed just for talking shit. Especially like you got Philly Parisi, he's whacked for he was acting boss, I think, while Junior was in prison. I think he was taking Junior's place just temporarily. I thought that's what they said.
Okay.
You don't see a lot of Philly.
No.
And I figured something cool too. If you're on Wikipedia, I only just found this out today.
Right.
Every episode, there's a tab that says first appearances, and it's really cool. It shows you if you're looking at a specific episode, it shows who is showing up for the first time in the show.
Oh,
it's so pretty badass.
You've got, I'm looking at that now. You've got Carmela's parents.
Yep.
Matthew and Sean.
Those guys.
Those two.
And they have their own story arc.
Yeah. Oh, the first time Janice is in.
Yep, first time Janice.
Dude, Janice is awesome.
Yeah,
Janice.
I didn't know what to think about her at first, but I don't think anyone did. But
first of all, I think she's a great actress.
She is. Yeah.
She plays a judge on Law and Order SVU. Was in a handful of episodes. Dude,
wow.
like 90% of the Sopranos cast was on Law and Order SVU. Like, dude, it's crazy. Like Tony wasn't, Sil wasn't, Meadow wasn't, because Meadow like stopped acting. She has done nothing since Sopranos.
Okay.
But pretty much like I'm telling you, like most of the cast is on there.
See, I watched Law and Order SVU, but years ago. So like when I was a kid, I liked it, but yeah.
I like a year ago or whatever, just binged it because it's easy to just binge.
Yeah.
But she plays a judge and she's great on that show.
Wow. I'd like to see that.
She's great on this show because she's completely batshit crazy.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. First time seeing those guys. So while Melfi's out of town, it's kind of a funny scene. Tony's seeing some male psychiatrist that he only sees one time, and the guy is basically like, Tony, what was your name again? And Tony tells some generic sounding name, and the guy's like, yeah. He's like, I watch the news, right? He's like, I know who you are, and he's like, I can't see you anymore. I don't want this attached to my name. And Tony's like, all right, fine, whatever, refer me to someone. And he's like, no. He's like, none of us would want to see you. I'm not, he's like, I couldn't, in good conscience, refer you to one of my colleagues. So yeah, so I think Tony just has to go a couple weeks without a psychiatrist.
Oh, dude, I never noticed this. I didn't. Oh, no, I did. I'm looking at this. I'm like, I didn't notice this, but I do remember this in the that Philly, when he goes to leave, they say, "Don't forget the pastries." Yep.
Oh,
notice his wife says, "Don't forget the pastries."
yeah,
that's
right.
Which is the Godfather. Don't forget the cannoli.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yeah, I did not think about that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is.
I always love Tony's like fake names. I love all of their fake names. You know, it's because they're always Italian, but they're so bad sounding.
Yeah, I know.
You know, oh god, it's they're funny. They're absolutely just hilarious. God, this is such a it's a really cool. I mean, God, it's one of those things where we have the benefit of being able to binge shows.
Yeah. Oh god, it's been killing me.
and we have the benefit. We have the benefit of not having to wait. I mean,
yeah.
I always make the comparison to could you imagine seeing Empire Strikes Back in 1980 and having that big cliffhanger at the end and having to wait 3 years to find out what's going on with it?
I know. Yeah, I know.
Like,
I
what?
couldn't imagine 3 years.
I mean, could you just imagine? Like, and this was a year later. I mean, this wasn't that much later.
Yeah.
But man, people were ready to when I can't imagine how many people were foaming at the mouth waiting to hit play.
Yeah.
Or whatever, flip to the channel, waiting to turn on HBO and start season 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch it. I didn't start watching it yet. And God, that had to have been super cool.
A buddy of mine was telling me the other night, he said that he didn't say what seasons, but he said between some of the seasons, he said there was a lot of time. Like some of them took a while to come out.
Yeah, I mean, after
I think 1 and 2 came out real back to back. If I'm right, because it says season 2 came out in 2000. So like I think 1 and 2 were pretty close together. But I think some of the other ones.
Season 4 was 02, but then there was a big wait because season 5 was 04. Because I remember I remember season 5 being 04 because I just looked at it was June of 2004. But point being was because I had just started. I would be starting graduate school in August, like 2 months later in August. And I remember I got HBO in grad school. I was like, I can't afford to pay my heat, but I want to watch. But I got because I had this was when I had just caught up. So it was season 5. To put into context, it was season 5 was the first season I watched. I was caught up to.
Okay, you watched it as it aired.
Yeah, I watched it as, or at least, maybe I didn't catch it every day. I might not have caught every episode live, but I was up to date.
And season 6 was 2 parts, wasn't it? I remember there being like part 1 and then a part 2 of season 6.
There was, yeah.
I don't know if that means it's extra long or maybe just took them more time and they didn't want to wait.
There was a break between them.
Yeah.
But, so I must have watched the show. I must have watched the first 4 seasons sometime after season 4 aired in 2002. And you know what I mean? It was that period of time.
Yeah.
In the period of time between season 4 airing and season 5 airing, I watched those 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And that would make sense because I would have. Yeah, I was in college. That's when I watched these.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a few seasons in before I started.
Yeah.
And I mean, give or take. I mean, season 4 might have been on when I started, but point being, I was never caught up to it live until season 5 started.
Okay.
At what point I started watching them? season 3 could have been on already. I don't know, but
yeah,
it took a little while. None of that matters. No one cares
yeah.
that much about the timeline. But yeah, they were coming out. But point being, like, being the show, and there was nothing like it on television. I mean, there's nothing like it on television.
Yeah,
There was.
I can only imagine.
I mean, it had to have just been, and it didn't even end with a cliffhanger. It didn't really. You just kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not real cliffhangery so far.
No.
Which is good. Which is good. I don't do that to people. Yeah, that's gimmicky. Cliffhangers are total gimmicks, really.
I mean,
you know.
They're cool, but again, yeah, I agree. It's a total gimmick. And the show didn't I don't think they ever do. I don't
Not that I noticed.
I'm so used to binging the show that
yeah, I was gonna say we might just be desensitized.
Well, I binge it so I've binged it so many times that, like, I forget what if, like, end of season 4, beginning of season 5, I watch it and forget seasons changed.
Oh yeah.
They, it's
kind of flowed into each other.
It's between 3 and 4 that I forget there's a season change. I think it's between 3 and 4, where like the end of 3 and beginning of 4, it's just kind of like.
I think you're right.
One episode to the next. It's almost as if there's no.
Yeah.
You don't feel that break or that cliffhanger. You just kind of. It's like, oh, I'm on another season.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, well, the Sopranos didn't. Oh, dude, how many times have we said it's a respect for the audience, man? They don't use stupid gimmicks. They just don't.
Yeah, I can appreciate it.
They had violence when it made sense. They had boobs when they made sense. It had everything when it made sense, but
not just for the sake of it.
Look
what we can do.
You didn't watch this show for any one of those reasons.
No.
If you just wanted to see cheap violence or whatever, like there's plenty
of other stuff to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
With Sopranos, it's like they those scenes are used sparsely because when it happens, it's way more effective. Yeah. Like when you get somebody killed or somebody gets the shit beat out of them, it's like, oh man, it's like it hits way harder. There's not like constant action because there doesn't need to be. Just like The Godfather and Goodfellas and all the good, the great ones.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Godfather is, that's the great example of.
I mean, everything goes back to The Godfather, of course.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great example of how to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how to have, and there's boobs in The Godfather. I mean, it's like one time, and it's over in Sicily. Apollonia, her little scene. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, when her.
Yeah.
But they're there because it's a really well thought out scene. It's not even a sex scene. It's more like, clearly she's never done this, but there's that little scene. There's, there is violence in the movie.
Yeah.
But shockingly, like very little.
Very little, mean, and when it happens, you're like, fuck. You're like, God damn, that was intense, I
mean, the horse head scene is the most famous, but you don't see it.
Right.
You see the aftermath of it. You don't see that actually happen.
No.
The most violent part of the movie really is when Sonny gets killed.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
I mean, there's the end sequence, right? Where like when Mo Green gets no, not Mo Green, because he's in the second one. I can't think of his name, but anyway,
I don't remember either. When he gets shot,
gets shot in the eye,
in the restaurant, that scene is it's so intense.
Yeah, absolutely. Point being, it's like you see, they did it well, and I think, I mean, The Sopranos does not have any problem making a million references to The Godfather.
No,
they have no problem doing
it. They love it.
They love it. I mean,
and it makes sense.
Let's be fair. Everybody watching The Sopranos has seen The Godfather.
Yeah.
And if you weren't a Godfather fan going into The Sopranos, you would have watched.
You went and checked it out. Yeah,
like, I gotta watch this.
I'm sure a lot of people did.
And just hopefully you didn't watch part 3.
You don't need to, but
no. The only good part about it is watching Syl do his impression of it. That's
great. Yeah. Once, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. which which he does numerous times throughout the series.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
He brings it back.
So good.
Because all those guys bring their all those guys are like they have their repetitive things that they're like, how funny am I right now?
So cool. So anyway, so
then Melfi's super fucking pissed with Tony. Yeah. Like you've never seen her this pissed off. She's like, she's
pissed off for a good reason.
Oh yeah, damn good.
Well, not for it's a shitty reason, but I mean, like,
I kind of thought, like, I was like, man, is this? I was kind of thinking this is the end for them two. Like, she's not going to see him anymore. Yeah,
it's funny because you don't realize how integral to the story she is.
Yeah,
and
Tony pretty much guilt trips her into not even intentionally. He's genuine about it. He kind of guilt trips her into taking him back because he's like. He brings his family into it. He's like, my family, they're better off. His words, he said, my family, believe it or not, he said, my family is better off with me alive than dead. So
yeah, that's a great line too.
Yeah, and that's what changes her mind. That's instantly, she's like, you knew that she had to do it because she does take that kind of shit serious. She's like, in her mind, what if he's right? I can't have that on my conscience.
And we've mentioned this before. In her mind, she took an oath.
Yeah, and she says
the Hippocratic oath. She took it.
Yeah. And she takes that shit serious.
Yeah, I mean, she takes everything too seriously, which is okay. I mean, I know we're gonna eventually move on, and episode 3 is a great example of when she doesn't. But okay, so. What else in episode 1? Because I know we definitely want to move on, but
I think that's pretty much
Janice
it.
Coming back is great. I love Janice. I love Janice.
I do too.
I mean, I can't fucking stand.
I did
Janice,
like her at first,
but
she's cool.
She's another one of those exceptionally realistic characters.
Yeah,
she's
got so many flaws.
Extremely realistic to me.
Yeah,
because everybody has a family member or a friend or something,
or a friend is like that.
That is like Janice.
Hasn't had a job in fucking who knows how long, and and she's a free spirit. She's a she's a free spirit and kind of a bum.
On the poop.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's so awesome.
The thing about Janice too is if she's one of the people on the show like you want to be friends with. Like,
she's cool.
I know this sounds really weird, but you're like,
she's
dude,
a
I would love
decent person.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but she'd be fun too,
Yeah, totally.
It's like, dude, awesome. Seriously, like she's like with the one female character on the show that you're like, dude, I just want to go hang out with her. Like, we'll have a few beers. We'll probably get a blowjob, but you probably didn't want it. You probably didn't want it, but you'll get it anyway.
Wasn't your objective? You just thought she was cool.
It wasn't really her either, but she's just she's just that kind of gal. No, seriously though, she would just be cool. But also the friend you want to hang out with when you're in town, but you don't talk to when you're not because she would drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It's weird.
She's the friend that you don't want showing up randomly at your house.
Yeah.
Well, can I crash for a couple weeks?
I don't remember when he says it, but early on he's like, every time you show up, I'm 10 grand lighter or something like that.
Yeah, basically.
Because every time she shows up,
she needs
out money.
Yeah,
because there's no other reason she would be there.
No, that's true. She is kind of a mooch, but
a total mooch.
I mean, yeah. But I kind of get it. I mean, to an extent.
Total mooch.
So episode 2, right. Do not resuscitate. Don't know how well you remember this one, but it starts off with Junior's in prison. He's starting to have health issues not finally, but he's starting to have his health starts to decline in this episode. He's got some mild heart issues. I mean, he is 75 years old or whatever, but he's getting old and he's starting to wear down,
Trying to think. Sorry, I was trying to remember what album, what Testament album that was on. It's The Gathering. I was blanking on Do Not Resuscitate back in The Gathering. I'm like, damn it, what's the name of the album?
Yeah,
I couldn't remember the name of the
DNR. That's funny you mentioned that.
Stupid.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that at all.
I think about that every time, but I just had a brain fart. What's the damn album? it's the Gathering, which is, you know, like a huge album of theirs. I just couldn't think of the name.
It's good.
I'm like picturing the stupid ass cover of it too, and I think it's a stupid cover.
The cover does suck. Yeah, it's a bad cover.
They're Testament have the Exodus problem of
They do
god awful album covers.
Yeah,
God awful album covers. The
It's
demonic
true.
is beyond stupid.
It
you
is
know?
stupid. Yeah, it's like the
They're all
pinhead
stupid.
guy or whatever.
Yeah, they're all bad.
They are.
The Legacy and New Order are maybe okay in concept. Horrible.
They're
in execution.
okay. Yeah.
The rest are just bad. I knew a woman who had a Souls of Black back piece.
Oh wow.
The cover of Souls of Black over her whole
Oh
back.
wow. Wow, what a trooper.
Crazy.
That's
Crazy,
epic.
yeah. Dude, she was crazy. I don't remember.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
Whoa. Yeah. Probably could challenge Janice as fucking.
Oh no.
So what? Junior's on house arrest. Is that what's going on? Or
Yep, he does
Continue,
get out of
you
prison.
were reading your notes.
Yeah, he does get out of prison. He's on house arrest, and which that goes on for a good while. He's on house arrest for a good long time. Like the majority of the season, actually, maybe the entire season. So you don't see
house arrest for a while.
Yeah, you don't see as much. I want to say you don't see as much Junior, but I think you still do. He's just at his house, you know. Which is it works. It works, you know. So then you got the that one guy who's an associate of Tony's comes to Tony because he owns a construction company. He's fucking over his workers like everyone does, and his workers are protesting. Most of them are black. So they're protesting, and he asked Tony to basically probably come in and beat up all the just fuck everyone up so they'll stop, you know, protesting. And it's kind of a cool story arc, actually.
I agree. It's a relatively short-lived story arc, but
it's short-lived. Yeah, there's a lot of characters in this episode you don't see again, but that's not super uncommon.
But this is the first episode that Bobby is in.
Yep. You're right. And I like Bobby a lot, actually. He grew on me.
He's great. He's like I said, he's the one that does that show with the actor who plays Christopher.
Oh, okay.
I
didn't know that.
They're best friends in real life, and they're nothing alike because he's, you know, guy who plays Christopher, name blanking, but he
Michael Imperioli.
Michael Imperioli and Steve Shrippa is the guy who plays Bobby, but you know, Michael is all like. He's like vegan and doesn't drink and blah blah blah. Wow. And Bobby's like,
so he's the opposite of Chris.
Yeah, he's like I do all of that for him, you know. Like, dude, I mean, like Michael Imperioli is like he's like an. I mean, I don't like he's like a true like thespian. He's like a student of film who like is really he is. I mean, he really is. Where
That's
Steve
cool.
is more just like a cool fucking guy, you know, like Steve is really very where Michael Imperioli is a polar opposite to Christopher in every way.
Wow.
Steve playing Bobby is more like that. Where like he seems like this just like a super good guy. Yeah. And
out of all the characters, Bobby's probably the nicest guy.
He's the closest to a real human being.
Yeah, he's got emotions and shit.
I mean, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people on the show that are relatively good guys with shitty jobs. There's shitty people with shitty. I mean, Tony's a shitty person. Doesn't matter what the hell he did for a living. He's a shitty person.
Right. Right.
Bobby, it's the guy who you're like, how the fuck did you end up being in the mafia?
I know.
It's because
it almost seems like
was.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's entirely because of you know, it was his father. His father and
which is how most of them get into it, you know.
Yeah. He but no, I love Bobby as far as
I didn't remember until I rewatched it today. I did not remember that this was the first appearance of him, but it is, yeah. You're right.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that in hindsight you don't think about it.
Yeah. You
Um,
don't. You just like,
it's also
haven't they always
one
been there?
you also the thing is though, for a little while, you don't really get the feeling that he's going to be a big character either.
No,
His
I
character
totally
gets
didn't.
bigger and
When
more
he
important
shows
in
up,
the
I'm
show.
like, oh, I bet this is one of those guys that is in the background at all times. And he's not.
He is a bigger character in the second half of the series. Like seasons 4, 5, 6,
Okay.
Tony or Bobby is a very big character. But he's not he's not in season 1.
Nope.
But they
And
they ease him into the
this
show by
season,
have him
even in this
being
season, he's not in it as much, you know. He's still a minor in I want to say this
he's a
entire
very
season
minor
he's a
character.
minor character, yeah.
He's a
But
very
yeah,
minor character.
I like seeing
And
more of him though.
but he becomes again, he's a very important character. I
Yeah.
will not say there's one
Say
thing
why?
specifically. No, I'll know, but I mean, one certain thing happens that makes him a much bigger character later on.
Okay. I
But
might
as of
not
right
even be there
now,
yet.
as of right now, he's with Junior. He's
So,
Junior.
do you remember why? Because I watched this episode today and I still didn't catch on to it because I think it's a very brief thing, or maybe it's not even explained. I'm pretty sure it is explained. So, why does Bobby start working for Junior? Because he even says in the episode, he says, I didn't ask for this. He said, I was assigned to Junior. Why is that? Or maybe they didn't say. Did he work for somebody that died?
I don't think anybody. I mean, they don't say.
Okay. I was thinking, I was like, how did I miss it? I'm watching the episode.
I don't think anybody has a lot of confidence in him.
No.
He's
dumb as hell.
Yeah.
Well, I should take that back. He's dumb. When it comes to like book smart, he's even way dumber than Tony, you know.
That I don't know when it is, but that conversation he has with Tony about how does he put it? He's like, you have there's the hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh God.
And the quarterback of Notre Dame. It's like
that's either late season 3 or early season 4.
Oh God, he talks about like Fuzzy Moto or something. And
no, he says Quasimodo instead of Nostradamus. He said Quasimodo predicted all this. You know that, right, Tony?
That's right. That's what. Yeah, but the whole like you got
Quasimodo. What the fuck?
You've got the hunchback of Notre Dame and the quarterback of Notre Dame,
and you're sitting there like face palming yourself.
when he's
even Tony, you know, when Tony outsmarts you in academic shit, you're a fucking idiot.
Dude, he's eating the gigantic steak covered in like onion rings, and Tony gets scrambled eggs and tomato slices.
Oh yeah, then he looks over and he goes, "How's the steak?" That's not bad. And Tony goes, I'll take a steak right here.
Like another steak sand over here, hon. Dude, there's all these discussions.
It's funny because as he's cutting into it, you see Tony eyeballing it. He's eyeballing that steak.
Dude, it was like, come on. Of all the food,
I'm that way too at restaurants. I'm like looking at people's food. Oh fuck, I want that so bad.
I know that's later on, but come on. Of all the food they eat on this show,
yeah,
I want that. It's a steak Santa Monica.
It looks awesome.
Because he calls it a steak San. I think it's really like a steak Santa Monica or something. What the name is?
I never heard of it.
But they every time I watch that, I go, damn it, because it's one of those things that
it's a giant ass steak too. It's like fucking.
You would only get that at like a truck stop, or a roadside diner.
They are at like a diner. They're at like basically a Denny's type place,
right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying like some roadside diner or a truck stop would feed you that.
Yeah,
and, and the waitress.
It's funny seeing him eat there too, because that's like one of the few times you don't see them eating Italian food. You know?
No, I know. It's great. Oh my God. Anyway,
like you said, Tony's eating fucking tomatoes and
it's two scrambled eggs and tomato slices.
Like he's trying to watch his weight all of a sudden or something. I think
puts a little salt on him or something.
Yeah, lasted about 10 seconds until Bobby starts eating his food, and Tony's like, "Yeah, I'll take one of those."
But honestly, I think they did it. My guess is they gave that job to Bobby because they weren't going to give him an important job.
That's probably true. That's a good point. Look, you're just going to be Junior's slave now.
Yeah.
And he is.
You're going to be junior slave, and
he is.
They probably just don't have enough faith in him. Because
they don't.
honestly, he's only there because of who his dad was.
They totally don't. Yeah, everyone kind of pushes him around, and no one really respects. At least up to what I've seen, nobody really respects him too much, and they all love him, but none of them really look up to him by any means.
In the episode when you finally meet Bobby's dad, who's played by
a great episode, yeah.
Who's played by Burt Young, meaning
yeah,
Paulie
I told you,
I
love that episode. Yeah, awesome.
Point is, like, once you find out, I love that they cast him. Again, I know it's later, but my point is, once you see who Bobby's dad is, you go, oh, his dad was old school. His dad was one of those guys you don't fuck with.
No, God, no.
And which sets up. It's like, okay,
his dad in his time has done some shit.
I don't know if they use this term in the mafia or not, but
I think his dad was like a hitman, wasn't he? He was like
probably
a hit
was.
guy.
Oh, he very well was. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, this is a term I don't know if the mafia would use it, but Bobby is basically a legacy. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like I was in a fraternity in college, and like if your older brother was in, then you're a legacy.
You're
and
well respected.
Or if your dad was in the fraternity, then you're in. Basically, it kind of means like you're in. You're automatically going to get in as long as
nepotism.
Yeah, well, yeah, as long as no one has a reason to say no. I'm guessing that he was only in because of his old man.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, and let's be honest, he's not that smart. He was never going to have another job.
No,
mafia was probably his only.
He's not a smart guy. He's horribly out of. I mean, Tony's overweight, but Tony could kick your ass. Like, there's nothing about Bobby that's intimidating.
No, other than he's a giant dude, but
he's a giant dude, but
he's a softie too. He's a softie.
He's too nice. I mean, I love that character.
I do too.
I love the way he plays that character.
Yeah, me too.
Such a cool,
totally.
And he is like. But I love how seriously he takes what he does.
Yeah.
He has some great line. Not yet. He has great lines. So he shows up. What was funny, even on that podcast that two of them did, Michael Imperioli forgets that he didn't show up until season 2.
Oh shit! Well, yeah, because it happens so suddenly.
He's talking about season 1, and Steve's like, I wasn't there yet. I didn't show up till season 2.
That's
Janice
funny.
Though too.
That's funny. Yeah.
You only, because in season 1 you only
do they ever have guests on that podcast, or is it always just them two?
Yeah, they do almost every. It's a really it's so cool. It's way.
I'm gonna look into it. Yeah, I'm gonna totally. I'm gonna.
Way better than what we're doing. But no, they bring in they brought in the casting directors.
Cool.
They've had different actors on the show come in. I mean, I only watched a handful of episodes.
Yeah.
It's a podcast, so you could. Yeah. I'm assuming you could just listen to it in like the podcast world. But if you have HBO, you could watch them. It's, I mean, it's seriously really. I have stopped watching it. I watched a few, but then when we started talking about doing this, I stopped watching that mainly because I don't want my head filled with what they were talking about.
Yeah, that's that. Because, just
I mean, it's come in handy a few times where in season 1 I was able to I heard that, but I don't want to know.
Yeah.
This conversation is boring if I'm just repeating what you could hear from them.
That's true. That's
stupid. But I mean, their point is they're supposed to be insiders and we're not.
Yeah. It's totally different.
It's totally different. But so do not resuscitate. You've got let's see. Janice keeps going and seeing Olivia, right?
Yeah. She's trying to make peace and everything, and well, she also wants money.
Of course. That's an ongoing
Janice thing, right?
It's an ongoing Janice thing. She's not gonna. Well, again, though, think of The Godfather.
Yeah.
Connie is a fuck up all the time.
That's true.
One of my favorite scenes of the whole Godfather series is in part 2 when what's his name? Merle? I think it's Merle. Anyway, Connie is sitting there with her new husband, and Michael's sitting there talking. He's like, I don't know this man. I don't know what he lives on. And he's he's sitting right there. And Michael's talking about him like, fuck you, you don't exist.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's like, the ink is not in your divorce. But that's Connie. She's a fuck up the whole time.
That's true.
And she's even like, I want money, Michael.
That's true. Yep.
So I'm not saying, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even want to make any conclusions that that Janice has any relation to Connie in The Godfather.
Right.
But it's also not a weird conclusion to jump to.
Any influence there? Yeah.
That
it's not weird at all. It's not weird at all, though.
And she has a son who she doesn't have a relationship with.
Right.
Harpo. His name's Harpo. He goes by something else now, but his name was Harpo.
Oh, okay.
Later on in the show, they explain where he got it from, where she got it from, and I don't remember where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this season, this episode is not. I mean, in hindsight, I guess I don't think of this as a big episode. I think of it as
it's not. It's kind of a self-contained story arc. Like what I thought was cool though. And this happens in the show from time to time, and I do appreciate it. So I was going to bring this up because I figured you might have something or you might think it was weird. So Tony, Tony, super racist. There's no debating that.
Of course.
But what I love is I love the episodes where Tony has to do some sort of interaction with like a black man. And I think this is reflecting a lot of people, especially older Italian generations. It's like he's racist, but like when he actually comes face to face with, again, like a black man, it's cool to see how he actually can see eye to eye with people that are different than him. You know what I mean? Because like he meets the old man, which is the protest guy's father, and I really like the scene where
he's in awe of that guy.
Yeah, I really like that scene where Tony goes over to talk to the guy. Guy's not home, and the dad invites Tony inside, and they have a Coke together, and they're chatting a little bit. And Tony loved him,
And I mean, there's later on in the show when he gets involved in a housing development scam that and again, whatever. I mean, it's not storyline related if you haven't seen this part yet.
Just one of the many scams in the show.
One of the many scams, but there's a black guy that he works with that he totally sees eye to eye on it.
Yeah, and he does a lot actually,
I mean, provided they don't have anything. Again, there's an episode. I know you know what we're talking about.
Okay, provided they're not.
Enemies. They have nothing
of his.
to do with kids.
Yeah.
Or try to date his daughter.
Or that. Yeah.
Don't try to date his daughter.
Or that. Yeah.
In the world of like it's horribly racist and you shouldn't laugh about it. That whole scene later on is. I can't not laugh. Again, it's the situation of.
When there's a reason why it was written, right?
It's one of those things where you're not laughing at the racism, you're laughing at how racist that guy is.
Right, which is there's an art form to that. Yeah, there's an art form to that.
It's the Blazing Saddles thing. You're not laughing at the racist jokes. You're laughing at the fact that those guys are that stupid.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles.
Laughing at the fact that they are racist. You know
Always
what I mean?
Sunny in Philadelphia, stuff like that. Yeah, they're trying to highlight how horrible some people are.
You're laughing at the character's ignorance. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
And but no, totally.
So I really appreciate those scenes. And this is not the only time it happens. It happens.
No. Well, and Tony can see eye to eye with people that are
respect him.
Well, that there are people that he does have mutual respect for.
Yeah.
And there are people that he thinks he's above, which is most people.
Right.
But there are people along the way that he, can see eye to eye with.
Just respect.
Generally speaking, there's something he can get out of them, but with a lot of them, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
People at Tony's card games, for example, like the doctor, and these are people that Tony doesn't look down on those guys. He sees, I mean, look, if you're not Italian, you're automatically not you automatically are something else, right?
That's true.
Tony looks down at the Irish just as much as he looks down on
That's
anybody
true.
else.
Yeah.
But I mean, of
Irish,
course,
Russian,
you know,
everything.
of course, Tony is horribly racist. But
Yeah.
it is interesting. I've always liked that.
I think those are kind of important scenes to throw in there, you know.
I'm not really a big fan of that storyline, mainly because we talk about this.
I'm not either.
They have those storylines that just kind of show up and then they go away, and
then they're not important. Yeah, they're not important because they happen so quick.
Sometimes it's a MacGuffin, meaning sometimes it's meant to get the character somewhere, but sometimes it's just to give the character something to do.
Yeah,
you know, that has it's not really it's not taking you anywhere. It's just something to do.
Yeah,
and
that's
you have to
kind of what
figure
it is.
not everything that they're doing is long game. They have plenty of short game.
Yeah.
And they also just have problems, you know. Shit happens with the union one day and they have to fix it. So it's a super minor episode.
Totally.
I would say at the risk of saying forgettable, not a bad episode, but kind of forgettable.
Yeah, I agree.
More like, I'll put it this way. This is an episode that if you skipped it and you just read the bullet points, you'd be okay. And that's not putting the episode down. I just mean,
right.
Episodes are not all created equal. They're just
certainly not. Certainly not.
They don't want to make the story so complicated that every episode is fucking, you know.
Yeah, you're just like drained by the time you're done watching it, and
right. But that being said, though, episode 3 is
a little more important.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, toodle fucking who. Great title, which you're not going to understand until almost halfway through the episode, or maybe near the end.
First of all, Richie Aprile shows up.
Yep. Do we even need to say anything else?
No. Richie Aprile is just awesome.
He is, yeah.
I mean, dude,
I didn't like him at first, but you cannot deny that he's a great character, you know, like even from the start. He's so intense, you know. When he shows up, you know, even before he says anything, you take a look at this guy and you're like, this dude is here to fuck shit up. And he's going to.
First of all, there's that little internet thing going around that they're like, when he got out of prison, it's because he was in Shawshank. Like, I think I said that before, because he's in Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For like no time. He's just there. But,
he's like
but he has one of my favorite movie lines ever in a movie. He's in the movie UHF.
Oh, that's a great
movie. And he's the guy who goes, broads don't belong in broadcasting.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was him.
And because then later it's like, how many times have I had to tell you, don't call chicks broads? Like, broads don't belong in broadcasting. That's him. He's a thug. He's in the movie for a minute. But dude, he was in Mean Streets, which I fucking hate that movie, but whatever.
You know, that's funny. Yeah, you mentioned that. I that's a movie I actually have never seen, and lately I've realized, like, okay, I should see Mean Streets.
You know, my problem is I took in college it was a 1-credit class, so it's, you know, one of these. But I took a class called The Films of Martin Scorsese.
Oh shit! Who wouldn't want to take that? Well,
fucking horrible.
Really?
Yeah, when you realize how bad so many of his movies are.
I guess I've only really seen you know, his main ones.
I mean, some of his movies are just straight up garbage. They're just garbage. And I the thing about Scorsese, and I know
obviously you're not talking about Goodfellas.
No, but here's the fucking problem with Scorsese. Number one, none of his movies have a plot, fucking ever. His movies don't have plots. They're just shit that happens.
Yeah.
The thing about Scorsese, he is a great director when it comes to getting great performances out of actors.
Yeah.
But if you think of almost every movie Scorsese ever did, when you think about it, you go, well, Pesci was really fucking cool in it. De Niro was really fucking good in it. But what's the movie? But the movie.
I mean,
has
yeah,
no plot.
Casino. You got Casino and Goodfellas.
Casino is a fucking plotless movie that nothing happens. But Joe Pesci and De Niro were so fucking cool in it, you forget there was nothing to that movie.
That's true.
I mean, I know it sounds weird to say that, but like,
you got to think
know,
about it a little bit.
I've seen Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, New York, New York.
I do like Taxi Driver. I haven't seen
again,
those two.
Same thing. So I'm trying to think. The ones we watched in that class were Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, After Hours, Color of Money, Last Temptation of Christ, Goodfellas, Cape Fear.
I like Cape Fear.
We watched Kundun.
I haven't seen that either. I haven't seen a lot of those.
And then I watched Casino on my own. I remember pissing off the professor in that class, though, because at that point, the last movie. Okay, so Gangs of New York came out next. Okay, I took this class.
I like Gangs of New York. Yeah,
I've never seen it, but I'll get back to that.
I like it. Yeah.
Bringing Out the Dead came out in '99, so it had only been out for like a year at this point.
I haven't seen
and
that.
I'll never. And my buddy brings this up to me all the time.
Bringing Out the Dead I have seen. It's pretty good. Yeah, Nicolas Cage, Ving Rhames. I like. It's not. I don't think it's amazing. It's pretty good though. It's pretty good.
And John Goodman, right? But
John Goodman.
Just Arquette, yeah. So
Arquette,
and Tom Sizemore's in it too. So anyway,
he's great. Tom Sizemore's fucking great in that.
The thing is, though, I said to my professor, I was like, dude, I saw Bringing Out the Dead. He's like, I haven't seen it yet. I'm like, here's the story. He's tired.
What? How has he not seen it? He's teaching this class. He should have seen all these movies.
It was new. It was still new at the time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He was only a year old at the time or something.
Okay. Or less, maybe. Okay.
But I told him, I was like, the whole fucking movie is just Nicolas Cage is tired. I
Very
fucking
tired.
hate that. I hate that movie like beyond words. So because I took that class and I ended up disliking the majority of his movies, I would walk away saying, wow, what a great acting performance, in Goodfellas, or how good Paul Newman was in The Color of Money, but the movie fucking sucks. So I felt that way. So here's what ends up funny. Right.
But he is largely responsible for getting those performances out of the actors. So there is that.
Of course he is. No.
Yeah.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
He's a great director. I don't like his movies. It's weird.
Gotcha.
I don't. It's weird. But
I'm seeing what you mean.
What's funny though is and I might have mentioned this on the show before. I've never seen any movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. Any movie with Leo.
I don't think he's all that great personally. I think he's highly overrated.
He's
not bad. He is not a bad actor by any stretch, but yeah.
The movies that people really like with him, Gangs of New York, Wolf of Wall Street, they're Scorsese movies.
Yeah.
My problem is the last Scorsese movie that I saw was Bringing Out the Dead. I fucking hated it. And after taking that class, I said, I don't want to watch Scorsese movies anymore.
Yeah.
That's when Leo started doing them all. So I already wasn't going to watch those.
Yeah.
I already wasn't going to watch them.
Yeah.
Because they're a Scorsese movie. I was like, I'm sorry if I'm pissing off everybody in the world, but I'm like, I don't want to watch another fucking Martin Scorsese movie. I've seen them all.
You might like Gangs of New York. I don't know.
I might, but I'm like, my point was at that point,
it's really good actually.
All the big movies that Leo was doing was Scorsese films. It wasn't because of Leo I wasn't watching them. It's because I didn't want to watch another Scorsese movie.
Right.
It's kind of like I read The Dark Tower and I'll never read fucking Stephen King again. I don't care how many great stuff he does. The Dark Tower was so fucking bad. I said I'll never read another one. I get pissed off.
I never read any of the Dark Tower books.
Yeah, the first one was hogwash. It was horrible. Anyway,
I've heard they're. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm a fantasy guy. I need to stay in horror.
Oh, I'm a fan too. Yeah.
What all I mean with that was like, so I missed a lot of Leo movies because I didn't want to watch Scorsese movies.
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch the fucking the Titanic, and I certainly wasn't watching.
I'm not a fan of the Titanic. Yeah.
What Shakespeare was it? Romeo and Juliet he did or something? I don't fucking remember.
Romeo and Juliet.
One of those was Romeo and Juliet with like guns and looked fucking horrible. I'm sorry. I was a member of the International Thespian Society, man. I can't watch someone fuck up Shakespeare, so that wasn't going to happen.
No, yeah.
So now it's a running joke where it's like I've never seen a Leo movie, so now I purposely won't watch any movies.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin that. You want that's got to be a life. That needs to be on your tombstone, dude. Here lies Chris. Never saw a Leo movie.
Did you ever see? I don't know if you ever watched How I Met Your Mother.
Yes.
Did you watch that show?
Yes.
There was an episode. I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but there was an episode where
I'm going with it.
They were trying to not find out who won the Super Bowl because they wanted to watch it later that night when they're all together. And they were like, but they had to go to a bar to pick up the chicken wings, and they went in so like they couldn't see or hear anything.
That's awesome.
Because like I'll do that every year. where for the last like 3 or 4 years, I didn't know who was in the Super Bowl. And I was like, it's really fucking hard.
I don't think I do either.
This year it got fucked up because I was in Texas, and because I was out there for work, like you'd eat dinner at the hotel, and
Someone's gonna talk about it.
It's
Yeah,
fucking on. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. The Super Bowl wasn't on, but it was that week leading up to the Super Bowl, so you couldn't fucking But for years I didn't know. But it's harder than it sounds.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's hard to not see Leo movie. Well, it's not hard because I don't want to. It's just like he's been on a fucking lot of movies. But
yeah.
So anyway, sorry. So the guy who plays Richie, fucking love that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's a rabbi in The West Wing. He's a fucking great actor. I like that. It sounds stupid, but he gets lots of spit in his mouth when he talks, and it's just like, which
he's
is
fucking he's an animal, dude.
Which is gross, but he's also like, this fucking guy. Like,
I think he's supposed to be like his like appearance is supposed to like suit what's on the inside, which is like cold, ugly, fucking harsh, Yeah. He's got almost no, he's a sociopath for sure. Like
he also mentions Feech Lamana. I'm checking this on Wikipedia, just little things. He mentions because the card game, and he mentions Feech Lamana, who's a character that you just hear mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah.
But you eventually get to meet in the series, and he's played by Robert Loggia, which is like, fuck, it's a Robert Loggia.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I've heard about that.
Again, that's not a plot twist, but that character eventually shows up, and it's Robert Loggia. And probably the coolest introduction to any character ever is the first time you see Feech.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And like, again, this has nothing to do with anything, but like,
you
see Feech and he's bitching. He's like, yeah, before I went away, they like now they shaved their bushes. I fucking hate it. So anyway, they mentioned Feech Lamana, which is cool. Again, that ruins nothing. You'll see.
Well, you know how a lot of the guys talk about how they have nightmares of like people that they've killed. That's kind of a reoccurring thing. I bet you Richie doesn't have those dreams.
Nope. He doesn't care.
That's all I gotta say.
Okay, so is this the episode? Do they take him to the strip club in this episode?
Yes. Yep. They take him to the Bada Bing because he's just out of prison. He was 10 years? I think he did 10 years.
What's awesome, and I might have mentioned this before, but you remember when? So he's in the back room. He's getting a Hummer from one of the strippers, and he goes to tip her, and she's like, "Tony said I can't take your money."
Silvio said.
Yeah,
Silvio said we can't take money from people.
And what he says to her is, "Whose joint did you just cop?"
Miter.
He says, "Whose joint did you just cop?"
Yeah, hands her $100 bill.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you look in the credits, she's credited. That actress is credited as joint copper.
Oh, that's right. I think you told me that.
Great.
That is great. That's like a thing that like you got to look for that. Most people probably don't even know about that.
Well, I know I saw that on Reddit one time.
I would not have known about that. Yeah. Yeah, you told me.
It's kind of like in the movie, again, it's my favorite movie of all time, but in the movie Airheads, Stuttering John is credited as masturbating rocker.
Yeah.
And Lemmy
Vaughn Motorhead.
Lemmy Vaughn Motorhead. It's like I love shit like that when they when it's clear they're having a little bit of fun.
Yeah, and because like how many people actually watch the credits, I don't know, 10% maybe.
Well, and because I always laugh because their union, the guild, the Screen Actors Guild, is like super fucking anal about everything. So I'm always just wondering like, how they get that past the Screen Actors Guild. Having her listed as joint copper, but that's fucking great.
Yeah, like did they get pushed back or what? Yeah.
I mean, just imagine putting that on your resume, joint copper.
Yeah, your acting resume.
Not body double, not stripper,
joint copper.
Joint copper. Just because that's just, again, the way they phrase it is great.
Yeah, it is.
It totally is. Dude, yeah, he's great. I mean, now that you're far enough in the show where I'm not ruining it for you again, I don't do spoilers later on, but Richie Aprile is the setup for when Ralph Cifaretto shows up in season 3 and blows Richie out of the fucking water as like
he is the next Richie, basically.
Yeah, he's he's the crazier Richie. Well, the difference is
they're very different characters, but yet they're
different. Richie
kind
is
of the
crazy.
same role.
Richie would kill you because for no fucking reason.
Right.
You know.
And he would also be honest about it.
I mean,
Ralphie would trick you.
No, but I mean, okay, so
or
this
something
episode
like
with
that,
Beansy, right?
Yeah, Beansy, yeah.
When he
first time you see him too.
Yeah, when he fucks up the guy at the pizza shop.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh man, Beansy gets it pretty bad. Twice in the one episode.
Well, and Beansy's an important guy.
Yeah. He's an associate.
Shop, but he moved a lot of H.
Yep.
He sold a lot of fucking drugs. So he's connected. He's not.
And you got to admit, man, oh man, what an idiot. Like fucking with Richie the way he does. Like some people could probably be like, yeah, I really admire him for putting his foot down, but like, was it worth it? Fuck no.
Thing is, though, he's protected by Tony.
Oh, so he thought.
Well, he was protected by Tony.
Look how far that got him. But
Richie didn't give a fuck.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's true. He probably thought. That's why he smarts off to Richie, because he's probably thinking like Tony's got my back.
Well, because in fairness, and Tony did.
He did.
Tony,
yeah.
But
Tony can't be there. Tony can't be there 24/7.
But it's an unspoken thing. Well, it's actually not an unspoken thing. It's the way the rules go. Like if you work for Paulie, nobody else is supposed to touch that guy.
Yeah.
You know, the people that work for Paulie and kick up to Paulie, that's Paulie.
So it doesn't take you long to realize what Richie's capable of. It's real fucking quick.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not only does he do things his own way, he just doesn't care about other people, how other people feel about it.
No, it's great.
Well, he was in jail for 10 years too, and he even says like shit's different now, you know. So I don't know, maybe things were different before he went to prison, or maybe he's always been that way, you know.
No, I mean, I guarantee you he was. Well, I mean, he ended up in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is though, like, it was a different time, and the one of the big differences though is it's the year 2000, right? Yeah. Richie, if he was in for 10 years, Richie went away before the RICO statutes were made, or at least, I don't know when they came about, but at least early on, before RICO was as much of a thing. Before the internet.
Yeah, a lot changes in a decade.
But I mean, you got to figure like the mafia didn't have to be as careful.
Right.
I mean, let's be fair, right? I mean, in the fucking
big jump in technology.
In The Godfather, there was no such thing as DNA evidence.
Or fucking, you know, did they have wires back then?
Did they have what?
Did they have wires back then, like surveillance wires and shit?
I mean,
not in the 50s. No, I doubt it.
I mean,
I doubt. Yeah, I always forget The Godfather takes place in the 50s.
Yeah, I mean, you
hell no, they didn't have that shit.
You know, when they go to Louis,
they had informants. That's
when they go to Louis' restaurant in the Bronx, right?
Yeah,
like they don't have a fucking security camera in there to see I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's
much less a tiny camera on a name tag, you know, like they have in the Sopranos.
Right.
A camera is so small you can't even see it.
Wiretaps and like
wiretaps.
I mean, literally.
I think back in those days, all they had was like informants. I think that was all they had to go off of. Or undercover shit.
He has to meet Tony at a mall and he gets pissed off about it.
Yeah, he even says it. He's like, "What the fuck, man?" You know.
Well, because Tony's like, "It's not the fucking way it was before you went away."
Yep, exactly.
And this is a common thread. It's not just him. You'll see it with other characters later.
Yeah.
There's a handful of characters this happens with.
Older guys, probably.
Guys who go away.
Yeah.
When they come back out, they feel they're owed something.
That's true. They feel
true.
All that money I would have made, those are still my guys. And
they want to pick right up everything that they used to have, they want to have again.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
And maybe that's how it worked back then. Maybe that's how it worked, but not so much now.
Not only did you go away, but you went away because you didn't turn.
Yeah, you fucked up.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that anybody that actually goes to prison in the mafia, all of them had the opportunity.
That's true. They didn't roll over on somebody. Yeah.
Every one of them.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
not only are they being fucking punished by being in prison while everybody else is out,
Yeah.
they're also they've also taken they've taken a sacrifice that no one else has taken.
Right.
And Tony even mentions, I think it's season 1, but he says something along the lines of like, it used to be that guys would go away, but it's like, dude, guys aren't gonna go away for 10 years anymore.
Yeah, that's
they're
true.
they're gonna turn them now.
That seems to be how it is. Yeah.
So you get these guys that come back and they feel they're fucking owed something.
Yeah.
And they don't,
which it kind of makes sense, I guess.
It-
Like,
I mean,
look,
it-
because
it-
they're
it
like,
makes
look what I
total
did for you. I didn't tell anyone anything.
it makes sense on multiple
But still,
levels.
you've been replaced.
It also makes sense because in all these cases, like, the boss is fucking younger than him.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. It's weird with Richie. What's weird about Richie?
He's so out of place, It's like he's a man out of time.
What's weird about Richie is the more you think about him, the more you almost kind of get it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the more
absolutely.
you understand.
Yeah.
He gets out of prison and Tony's
can't
not letting
expect him to just adjust so quickly,
I mean, Tony's not letting him fucking work. Tony's holding him back.
Yeah.
He doesn't
because he's been
back.
replaced. They don't really need him anymore,
Well, and they also want him to be careful.
Yeah.
Where he just wants to be like, fuck it, I'm going to go out and take what's mine.
Yeah.
And as far as he's concerned, Beansy's it.
Yeah.
And
that's the first guy he goes after is Beansy.
He does say at the one point, he's like, I'm old school, and Tony's like,
well,
if you're old school enough to know that I'm the fucking motherfucking boss, or however he puts it.
Now he does say it that way. You're right. He said, "I'm the fucking motherfucking,"
like,
or "I'm the motherfucking fucking." Something, but he said back to back. Yeah,
something like that.
Yep. I watched it earlier
but
today.
I mean, it's weird. That's what's funny about what's weird. I think when you first watch, and this is me from watching it a few times, I think when you first watch him, you think he's a pile of shit dickhead.
Yeah.
I think the more I watch the show, the more I almost empathize with the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you because do kind of change your feelings a little bit about him.
Motherfucker, while Tony was sitting there banging strippers and driving a fucking Mercedes, he was in prison.
Yeah.
When he comes out, he's getting shit on.
Yeah.
He wants to get back to fucking work.
Yeah.
And his boss is like, nah, we're only going to let you do this.
Yeah, I don't have anything for you. Yeah.
And no one gives a shit that you've been away. It's like, you kind of.
Yeah.
I kind of get it.
So he's like, well, I guess I'm just going to take it back then if I'm not going to.
That's how you get where you get.
Yeah. From the start.
How you got there.
Yeah. You have to take it. You have to take it back.
And his brother was the fucking boss.
Yeah.
He should be high up.
That's true.
So, not to mention.
So he's got a huge chip on his shoulder. That's for sure.
And not to mention he's been in prison for a long time, which probably also. As if he needed toughening up.
Yeah.
It's the jacket. He doesn't need fucking toughening up. I fucking love that. It's the jacket.
He's so proud of that thing.
But I mean,
no.
But I mean, and he's also got little guy syndrome because he's not a big guy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they say that even Junior says that about him a couple times. Like, man, for his size,
yeah,
he's really scary.
So okay. So the last thing we do need to talk about the Toodaloo part. I think that's the last part of this.
Toodaloo.
Because this is so what? Melfi sees Tony at a restaurant.
Yeah, and she's a little drunk. Yeah,
and she's drunk, and she's like,
"Yeah,
Toodaloo."
Hey, she says hi to him first, and like tries to have a conversation with him. Which sober, she probably wouldn't have done because I don't think you're supposed to do that. First of all,
no.
Yeah, you're not supposed to. I think that's a medical thing, right? You are not even supposed to acknowledge your clients in public. You have to like ignore them basically.
Yeah,
I've been told that before.
Sure. I mean, I don't know what, you know, what I don't know how that works, but
Yeah. But
where
she's
is
like, "Hey,
it?
Tony, how are you?"
Is that when, hold on. I'm trying to think if this is when, oh yeah, okay. It's when Pussy has Pussy's great line. If I'm not mistaken, it's in that episode. Um I'm double checking to see if it's the right episode. Hold on. That is it
Oh, is it
is.
about
Okay.
blowjobs or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the,
that.
to me, the best line that Pussy ever says, and I'm looking at it. He goes, "Trust me, my boy, there are two things I'm good at: pulling dents and spotting good blowjobs." And that
Yeah.
sweetie has world-class blowjob lips. Am I right, Skipper? Like,
And then they're talking about, like, I can't remember who says it. "You remember your first blowjob, right?"
oh yeah, yeah.
And Paulie's like, "Oh, yeah." What does he say? Like, "How was"
He goes, "How long did
oh,
it
yeah,
take
how
take for him to come?"
yeah. "Did you hear
And then
that?
of
I
course,
said"
you hear that tone? Right? I
I got
said,
I gotta repeat it, of course.
did you hear that tone? I love it. But no,
I know.
it's a great and Melfi's psychologist talks about this, or her therapist or psychiatrist or whatever she's seeing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um Talks
Elliot or
about how
whatever.
like she reverted back to little girl, you know,
Yeah,
instead of therapist
yeah,
Jennifer, she turns back to like little girl Jennifer by the
yeah.
toodle fucking ooh as she puts it to him.
Yeah,
I love how she says that. She's like, "Yeah, but toodle fucking ooh."
yeah.
Um, I fucking love that the word "fuck" is in the title of the episode. Like,
Yeah,
I just
me
think that's
too.
awesome.
I know, it's awesome.
Because it again, it makes more fucking sense. Like
Does.
it's not toodaloo. It's that she said toodle
Yeah,
fucking ooh. Like
yeah.
that's
That's what she
um
said.
oh god, yeah. It's oh yeah, and of course Meadow has that fucking party and ruins the house too. There's that in that
Oh,
episode.
yeah, yeah. Another almost pointless, Meadow scene. But whatever,
Com- yeah, but you know what though? It's actually one of the moments I think when I think of Meadow Soprano, I I always think about how she fucked that house up, and her punishment was she has her credit card taken away for 3 weeks.
Yeah, because she manipulates her parents.
Right.
She intentionally does that, yeah.
And then she says, "Because I don't have my credit card, so you have to give me cash."
Yeah, well, I need money now. Obviously,
Fucking
I have to get around and
so
shit, yeah.
it's like she she got a slightly less allowance for 3 weeks. Like that
Yeah,
was her fucking, you know. Oh, and
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's there are scenes that describe Meadow Soprano really well, and that's one of them. You
yeah.
know, that's
It's funny when you mentioned that scene, where she's, talking to her parents about that. I had to take notes about this because I thought it was hilarious. There's a part where she's fighting with Carmela and Tony, and she's smarting off big time. Well, she's being
yeah,
Meadow basically,
yeah.
but she's even being maybe a little more aggressive than normal. And Tony, twice within like 10 seconds, Tony goes, "Oh!"
Oh,
Because like Meadow's like dropping the F bomb and shit. Tony's like,
oh,
"Oh,"
it's
but
so good.
he does it twice in like less than 10 seconds.
There
So I
is
had to write
a
that down.
there I know there are YouTube videos of just all the ohs from
Oh,
The Sopranos.
I bet there is. I gotta watch
There's
it.
also, but I'll tell you my favorite one. And we'll talk about this a lot more when we get to season 3.
Yeah.
But um there is a video on YouTube of every time someone says "hua" on The
Oh yeah,
Sopranos.
I heard about that.
Every
Yeah.
time, and it's a bunch of different characters, but anytime someone says "hua," it's like Riker sits down. You know what I mean? It's one of those great
Yeah.
compilations that someone spent fucking time finding every time someone says "hua" on the
Or my
show.
personal favorite, Nicolas Cage loses his shit.
Yeah,
That's my
Nicolas
favorite
Cage
of
loses
all.
his shit.
That's literally
Um,
what it's called. You just type that in and you're good to go.
I love that, but yeah, but there's definitely one. But yeah, there's ones with the,
Who
oh.
she was a hua.
Okay, so by the way, before we're done, I got to throw this out. I know I told you about this, but I have to just add this.
Yeah.
To anybody watching, there is a So Drea De Matteo, who plays Adriana,
Yeah.
recently in real life had fallen on some tough times,
Yeah.
and so I guess she opened an OnlyFans account, which to
Yeah.
my knowledge is rated R, and she's never naked on it, but
Okay.
she's famous; she can get away with
Yeah.
that.
She doesn't
And
need to go extreme.
no,
Yeah.
I read she basically said like it saved her life, it saved her home, like
I
she's
don't doubt it.
it's not necessarily that that's what she wanted to do, but she was like,
Right.
I'm thankful for it. Well,
Yeah.
anyway,
Hell
there
yeah.
is a Reddit thread, and I don't. Did you read any of the thread or just this? I don't know if I.
I read a
what
little
I
bit of I read some of the comments. I didn't read anything that like told me much about the situation. I read a bunch of
Well, no.
jokes, a bunch of Chris jokes
So
and stuff.
anyway, what I'm telling everybody watching this to do is there is a Reddit thread that it says it's 2024, and it's Chrissy's job to explain Adriana's OnlyFans how it works to the guys, and it is just this
Yeah, I saw that.
gigantic list of all these people making Adriana being on OnlyFans into the way the Sopranos characters are.
Yeah. Or like things they would have said about it. Yeah.
Hilarious.
And they're surprisingly accurate too. They're like, oh wow, yeah.
My favorite one is the most subtle one on there. It's an online community. I fucking love that one because of every time Tony's like, it's a retirement community. So when someone says it's an online community, like that one fucking kills me. The awesome, one yeah. which references an episode later on, they're like, she fucked 16 Czechoslovakians. Like it's fucking and my personal favorite.
Or stuff that Paulie would have said, or yeah.
Is that Paulie says, where's your channel, kid? On, he says stuff. And then the next response was, hey T, did you hear what I said? Then the next response was him telling the joke, and then the next response is, like it's people fucking they nail it. I mean, it's one of the best.
No, you're right.
One of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. When just shit tons
where it's
of
like almost every comment is gold too. It's like, it's oh shit. Gold. Every comment you read, you're like, oh man, perfect. 10 out of 10.
There's a lot of money in that shit. There's a lot of money in that shit. Like it's so good. And some of the references are way like it's an online community to me is really fucking funny. Because some of them are more subtle, where like the reference isn't so blatant.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. So I'm just throwing that out to everybody. If you
go
can find
out
that, if you can find it on
OnlyFans page.
Yeah, or well, I don't know. If anybody if anybody pays for her OnlyFans page, you can report back to us and tell us that she's naked.
We need to know. We need to know.
I don't think she is.
No,
because I've read. I don't
probably
think she
not.
Is.
Yeah, probably not.
But hey,
I mean,
that's cool.
If she did though, she could make a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
But maybe she's
as long as she doesn't go the like matron or the Maitland Ward. Maitland Ward, that's her name. The Maitland Ward route, where like she was like, I used to be on TV. I'm gonna start doing porn, and then like a week later, she's like, oh, one of those. She's like, it's like, okay, now, okay, no,
yeah,
Maitland Ward, she took it a little too far.
Too far.
The old Sam Kinison joke, but like, no,
I know. It's like I saw one of the comments though, where the guy's like, he's like, yeah, I mean, all she needs to do, like, she's got enough Sopranos fans. Obviously, I mean, any Sopranos fan loves her, obviously. So he was like, all she has to do is low level stuff. She can show her feet, and she's gonna make a shitload of cash. Like she doesn't need to go X-rated.
As long as she has that leopard skin outfit, that leopard print outfit,
dude, she could probably just talk and shit. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah, or
I know.
She could
she's fucking hilarious. But
I'd probably pay money just to watch her talk.
Oh, I know.
Like, I don't know.
She's hilarious.
Yeah. Hopefully that works for her.
No, I just. But anyway, that's super cool. Like I'm happy that she was able to do it, and I'm happy she's not like upset about it. The other thing I'll say is, seriously, that Reddit thread fucking killed me, and I don't want to just sit and read them. But it's the funniest shit. It's the funniest shit I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably the funniest Sopranos related conversation I've ever seen. It kills me. Yeah. It absolutely. And I stopped reading it earlier today. There's probably a shit ton more.
Oh, dude, I bet there's
back in there and watch it.
Probably thousands.
Oh yeah, it's great. I can't. I mean, Reddit Reddit is garbage. 99% of Reddit sucks, but the 1% of Reddit that isn't
Is
shitty
gold.
is awesome. It's
Yeah.
pure fucking gold, and that's an example. Like,
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of I hate social media, but I don't spend
Right,
a lot
me
of time
too.
on Reddit. But there's a couple of threads that I use.
Too many
'cause,
rabbit holes.
you know, I mean, well, yeah, especially there. But you know, like I play Warhammer 40K, and it's really like the best place to find information. And
Yeah.
you know, I paint model. It's a great place for certain, you
Yeah.
know, for
Niche
subcultures and little
things.
hobbies.
Yeah.
But some
Yeah.
things pop up, and that one popped up, and I was like, oh my god, this is the fucking greatest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, anything else you want to throw out for this episode, or?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I'm glad you took notes, because that was way easier than me.
It was, yeah.
Me
Yeah.
trying to look at fucking Wikipedia and like
Yeah,
I
'cause
remember all the scenes, but I'm telling you, I'm bad about remembering like what episode is what. It's not like
Yeah.
Pine Barrens, where I will always remember Pine Barrens
Or
being
some
Pine
episodes.
Barrens.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
sure there's numerous where you're like
I mean, that one especially, like the whole episode, I fucking remember everything on that. But
yeah.
you know, but yeah, it was the same thing. Like oh, I know Richie showed up, but did he also kick Beansy's ass the same episode? I don't remember.
Twice. Yeah, twice. Oh man.
The fact that Beansy's still on the show later is awesome too.
So basically, Beansy, both times you see him in the episode, he's getting fucked up by Richie. Well, and then the third time you see him, he's in the hospital and like can't walk. Yeah, he can't walk. He's got a halo thing on, and he's so fucked up. Oh man,
he can't blow his nose. You know.
Yeah. What does Tony say? Like, don't get me wrong, your nose is the only thing I'm gonna wipe, or something like that.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so next week, so Friday night I'm driving to Harrisburg. It's like 4 hours away. It's not that far. I'm driving out to see King's X.
Yeah.
And then so my plan is to come back and then Saturday night record my podcast and Sunday night, you know, do this. But that being said, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it. It's just going to depend on whether or not I do either one of them. Like if I don't record my podcast by Saturday, where I'm not doing that on Sunday.
No.
So I'm guessing that I'll be able to do this. I'm not sure if I'll get my podcast done, but I'm pretty sure I can do this.
Yeah.
Under the caveat that I'm just fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
Because I didn't sleep. But I mean, it's King's X, like, you know.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be. Have you seen them before? I can't remember.
Yeah. I only saw them once.
Oh, okay. So it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna be a big deal.
Oh yeah.
Huge deal.
Fucking good. And I'm gonna bring. I'm gonna bring 2 record sleeves.
Yeah.
I've got Dogman on vinyl, and I want to get it signed.
Yep.
Mainly because it's one of the priciest records I ever bought.
It's a rarity. Yeah.
I also have an OG copy of their first record, Out of the Silent Planet, which I've had since I was in high school. So I'm going to bring those. See if I can get. They always do meet and greets. They did one last time I saw them.
Yeah.
I got pictures with them, and I think I had them sign something. I don't remember what I had them sign. Might have been.
Do you have to ask for that up front, or how does that go?
Last time I saw them, they just after the show
they just
do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I saw Metal Church, they did the same thing. They're like, yeah, whatever. They just went and got a couple chairs, and they're like, form a line if you want to talk to us. Go for it.
I mean,
no, you don't have to pay for it or anything.
No. I mean, with King X, you got to figure they're not that big. They've been around for fucking ever.
They got a cult following.
They're an absolute cult following band.
Yeah, and
them keeping the small loyal fan base they have is important.
Smart.
Plus, they're all cool guys.
Like, I was gonna say. Plus, that just reflects the kind of people they are.
None of them are shy. They're all goofy guys. Doug especially Doug's hilarious.
Yeah,
the picture I have with
he's a good guy. I've seen interviews with him and shit.
Like, seriously, I'll show you the picture. Fucking great guys. But that's what I'm just hoping. And I'm also like, dude, it's not like there's going to be a mosh pit there. So holding a record sleeve, it's not like
you'll be fine. And this is probably, let's be honest, this is probably going to be the last time you're ever going to see them.
Probably. And I'm probably going to be younger than half the crowd, which is funny.
Yeah.
When you're in your 40s and you're younger than the crowd, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's not like Wayne Newton, you know, or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
you're going to feel like a child there.
Like when I've seen George Thorogood a few times.
Oh fuck, man.
And I'm like,
bunch of 80-year-olds.
People in their walkers.
Yeah.
But
It's my
I'm
favorite band.
yeah, but George Thorogood's awesome. Anyway,
I saw him back in 1970.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Same show.
Yeah, what? Don't change, George.
The same thing. If you saw him,
Yeah.
dude, if you saw him in like 1985 and you saw him now, you
No difference.
would just be like, well, I guess he's a little older because his
Yeah.
set hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
He knows what people want, and he's okay with it.
And ain't gonna get none of it.
Yeah.
But all right, man. Well, hey, like I said, next week should not be a problem. I can't imagine it is. I'm just throwing out the 2% chance that I'm just fucking.
You just might be tired.
That I'm dead from the neck up, but I don't expect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking A.
We will see.
All right, man.
All right.
Oh,
Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next one.
Thank you again, and we'll see you all next week.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.